Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for coming. Hope conference is going good so far for everybody. My name is Juan Gomez. I'm a senior engineer, senior mobile engineer at Eventbrite. And I'm going to talk to you a little bit about app indexing and how you can leverage this tool that Google has made available so that you can direct traffic from the internet, and especially from search results into your app. Little intro about me. As I said, I'm a mobile engineer at Eventbrite. I used to work at a company called One Louder Apps that got acquired by Sprint. Some of you might know some of the apps we used to work on: Bacon Reader, Tweetcaster, Powwow, and a bunch of others. And I do mostly Android, but I also do a little bit of Python when I can. Not a lot these days, but that's the other language that I'm and the other platform that I'm really passionate about. As I said, we're going to talk about app indexing. And app indexing has kind of a three-step process. First is deep linking, which is something that is supported on Android since probably the earliest versions of Android. It's really easy to implement, and it's not dependent on app indexing at all. And we'll talk a little bit about what that is if you don't know. But most of you should be either familiar on how to do it or have seen it on your day-to-day use of Android. The second component is app indexing itself, and it's that part or that API that Google is exposing, allowing you to redirect traffic from the internet, specifically from search results, into your app. And then the third component is the newest component of app indexing, and it's actually surfacing content from inside your app to Google search on the local device, so that when people are searching on using the search app, then Google can autocomplete with things that are inside your app. So for instance, on the Eventbrite app, if you're searching for something on your phone, maybe you saw an event and you remember the name of the event, you start typing on Google search, the name of the event, let's say is Googa Mooga or Governor's Ball. As soon as you start typing, since the app is going to surface contact to the app indexing API, the autocomplete is going to autocomplete the event name, and then people are going to be able to click and go straight into the app and not into Google search. So those are the three components of the talk: deep linking, app indexing, and the app indexing local API. So why deep linking? Well, the biggest reason you want to use deep linking is you work really, really hard to create a really great app. Not all, but a lot of apps still have a web component. So a lot of people, when they're searching for something, even if they have your app installed, they search on Google, Google surfaces results. So for instance, here it's an event result that's on Eventbrite. Search results, and then people click on the Google link, and they get taken to your mobile website. And that's even if you have a mobile optimized version of the website, which some websites don't. So even if people have your app on the phone, and even if that same content that's on the website, it's on the app too, when people do this and do the search on Google, they're going to end up on the website and never really benefit from the app that you've been working so hard on. So the idea of app indexing is try to redirect all those users so that when they do a search on their phone, on their Android phone, when they do a search for something that's on your app, they get taken to your app and see the content on your app and not taken to your website. So that way, they can leverage the app they already have on the phone. Right now, Google is not, they're doing it for some apps, but not for all of the apps that are on app indexing. But sometimes if you don't have the app, Google will offer people, and I think that's going to be the future of this, they're going to offer people to install the app and then allow them to see the results on the app. So this is also going to help you get new users into your app in the future when Google exposes that component to more developers. So first we're going to start with deep linking. It's the first step. It's been around on Android for a long time, and a lot of you have probably seen it when you click on a link and you get a chooser that says, do you want to open it on the browser or do you want to open it on an app? So we're going to see how you do that. And basically, it's a 4-step process. You basically first identify which links you want your app to open. Hopefully, those links will mirror content that's on your website. That's one of the main things. You want people to, because when they click on a link, they're expecting to be taken to the website, and if they get taken to your app, they expect to see not the exact same, but at least the relevant or a general semblance of what they were expecting to see on the website. So you have to make sure that the things that you're showing on the app match what you have on the website, or are in general terms similar to what you have on your website. So you have to choose those links. Once you have that, you have to go into your app and add an intent filter. We're going to see how we do that. And then add some code to handle those intents, and then finally just test it, and that's the easiest step. So for instance, here I have an Eventbrite page for an event that's happening on Christmas. So there's the event on the web, and there's the exact same event on the Eventbrite app. So as you can see, the exact same information is there, the date, you can buy tickets, everything that you can do on the website, almost everything that you can do on the website, you can do it on the app. So for us, it's easy because we have the content on both the app and the website, but the idea is that you strive to get that battery on both your app and your website. And those are the links you want to capture when you're doing deep linking. So this is the URL of that website. It has a coloring scheme that I'm going to explain later, but basically it's just the protocol that I'm using, which is HTTP, the host, which in this case is eventbrite.com, and then the rest of the URL, which in this case we have some SEO optimized URLs that have the name of the event and then an event ID. But in your case, you can use an event ID, or if you have like a trigger word or something that uniquely identifies that content on your website by the URL, you can use that to surface that same content on your app. So this is basically the links that you want to be doing deep linking on. Then you need to add an intent filter. The intent filter is something that you add on the Android manifest, and as you know, Android manifest is just XML. So it's just a set of XML tags that you add to a specific activity that Android's going to open when a user tries to open the URL, basically, that you want to capture. So it's basically registering your app on Android saying, if someone tries to open a URL with this specific format, please call my app, and then my app will try to handle it. So basically, you have an action tag. The action tag is not specifically related to deep linking, but it's basically what lets Android know that that activity can be opened directly. So you need to have that so that the links go straight into the content. You need the data tag, and the data tag is basically what's going to specify the URI scheme for the URL that you want to deep link to. And then there's category tag that you were going to need two, browsable and default. Browsable is going to be mandatory because you need to basically let Android know that it's something that can be opened from the web browser, because this is the final goal is to open from search results, but also if, for instance, someone's reading, let's say, a news article, and the news article links to your content. For instance, someone is writing a news article about the Christmas event that I just showed, and then there's a link to the Eventbrite website. You want to take users to your app when they click on that website. So not only search results, but anytime someone clicks on a link on the browser that has that URI schema that you want Android basically to send that user to your app. So you need the browsable category tag. And then the default category tag, it's basically a way for you to tell Android that your app is going to handle any intent that has that URI schema, regardless of where it's coming from. If you don't include the default tag, then only when you do app indexing, you'll be able to leverage deep links. So my recommendation is that you always use default, so that every time people tap on a link that has the schema that you want, then they immediately get taken to your app, or at least get the chooser dialog to go to your app. This is basically how redacted version of how the manifest on our app looks like. We have an activity we call scheme start activity. That is the activity that handles our deep links. You can basically name your activity whatever you want, and then that activity is going to have a set of properties depending on what the activity is doing on your specific app. And then here's the interesting part. This is the intent filter. This is basically what tells Android that any URI with a certain schema can be opened by your app. So you have the action. Action needs to be view so that Android can open this activity directly. So that way Android knows this is an entry point. And then the browsable and the default categories so that links can come from a browser or from anywhere on Android when the user tries to open. And on the data tag, you have your schema for the URL. So for instance, on our app, we use HTTP for the scheme, which is scheme is basically the protocol that the URI uses. Usually, we equate URIs with URLs, and URLs are usually HTTP. But this scheme or protocol could be anything. There's a, and we'll talk a little bit about it. But there's people that use HTTP. There's other people that use different schemes or protocols, even if it's not a real protocol, to define their own types of their own type of URIs. But the recommendation from Google is to try to always use HTTP. And then you have your host, which is basically the root of your website. And then you have a path that basically specifies the format of the URL. So if we go back here, you can see that my URL has that format. It has /e/ and then the name of the event. In your case, then you can have your own specific path. It can be as complicated as you want. For instance, this is the simple thing. You can just say path, and then you can use something like a path prefix, which is the start. And I could have used here path prefix because the part that I'm interested on is after the /e. So I could use a path prefix. But you can also use what I'm using here, which is a path pattern that basically matches a format, and you can use wildcards like .star. .star basically means anything after this / gets matched, and then I could have like a suffix part of the URL if I needed to. In my case, I don't need it, but if you had like a suffix that never changes, then you can use the wildcards here to specify that section that changes and then the end of the URL if you have it. This is probably the easiest to have the last part of the URL vary, but you're free to choose whatever you're using on your website. And that's the idea of this. You don't have to change what you're doing on your website. It's matching what's already done on your website on the app, and then have them interact with each other. If you have HTTP, in our case you do the exact same thing with HTTPS. If you have HTTPS, you do the exact same thing with HTTPS, so that Android matches both HTTP and HTTPS URLs into your app. And then if you have different schemas, you have to define them all. For instance, we have -e for events, and we have -o for organizers. So if you want to access an organizer directly and see all the events that they're organizing, there's a URL schema for that too. So this is ours. Yours is probably going to look similar to this, but the key is on this data tag to define your schema, and then make sure you have the action and the categories just like I have here. So the intent filter, the action, the categories, and then the data part, it's the one that's going to vary depending on the schema of your URL.
Question for you. Is that only on compostable sites, or does the redirect do these intents too, or how?
So
if I send them first to the website, and then I want to do a redirect, they click on something, I redirect them back to my app or something, can I pick this up there?
When you do browsable, you're basically telling Android that anytime the website's going to try to open this URL, it sends it to your app. So if people click on something that takes them to the website, and then your website does a redirect, the browser will detect that the URL matches and then sends it to your app. So you can send them to for instance, if you have like a URL shortener or any other schema to do redirection of the user, the minute the browser sees a URL that matches this format, it's going to try to open your app. So even if there's a redirect happening, it's going to try to open the app. I don't recommend that because the user experience is kind of weird, and the user is going to be expecting one thing and then seeing a different thing. But basically, the browser, every time the browser sees this pattern, it's going to try to throw it to your app.
So if you don't have the app, then it just goes to the URL.
Yes. This only works when you have the app. So basically, when the app gets installed, the operating system reads your manifest. That's why this is on the manifest, and then basically registers your app to handle the schemas. Yes.
When you don't have your app installed, can't you redirect them to the Google Play Store to install it?
That's something that you have to do on your website. It's something that you can do on the app.
I guess my question is, when they do get redirected to the App Store, then you will lose the deep linking information, because the App Store is not going to pass that back to the installed app, right?
No, that's correct. So if you don't have the app, none of this is going to work. And so if this is something that only works if the person already has your app. And we'll talk a little bit about mechanism of how to get people to download the app. And we'll try to leave questions for the end. Sorry, so that we can get on the time we have. So that's the biggest downside. The user has to have your app. We'll talk a little bit, and hopefully app indexing will and they're starting to experiment with this. We'll try, at least on search result, we'll tell people that there's an app for that specific URL, and they can install it and then take advantage of it. But for now, and especially deep links, it's something that it's not going to work if the user doesn't have your app. So they need to have your app installed.
Can you use wildcards for the hosting if you have subsites in the website?
If you have subsites in the website, I'm not entirely sure, but I think you could. Yeah, I think you could. I mean, that's the whole point of the wildcards, and that's the whole point of the pattern format, so that you can create a pattern and then you put wildcards on the part that varies. I haven't tried it, but I'm sure it should work.
But with looking at this, at least we should have one is HTTP and HTTPS schema. At least these two entries should be there, right?
Yeah, and that's a good point. You at least have to have the HTTP entry point. The HTTPS, if you have HTTPS, then you can put it there, but at least you have to have one entry point so that Android can match to your app. I'm sorry, I'm going to try to continue. So now that Android is sending people to your app, what happens, and you're probably familiar with this, every time Android tries to open your app, what it does is it sends an intent. So that intent gets routed to your app, and then your app gets woken up, and that's the first thing your app receives is an intent. So what you need to do, the idea is that the user needs to go immediately into the content they're expecting to see. So for instance, on the Eventbrite app, they're not expecting to see my launcher with the maybe their friends' events. They're expecting to see the specific event they clicked on. So you need to take them to that right away. And Google is really, so deep linking, you can basically do anything you want because it's something that's on the platform. But if you want to do app indexing, you have to take people straight away to the content without showing them a login screen or home screen. You need to take them straight to the content they were expecting to see on your website. It's something that Google call I think it's first click free. So basically, even if your app is paid, even if people need to log in, for you to be part of app indexing, you need to take people straight away to the content, and then there, after you do that, you can surface something for them to log in, or if it's paid content, then when they scroll, you can ask them to log in or pay or whatever. But this is basically the code that handles the intent. So on your own create, you basically do get intent, and that is going to give you the intent that woke up the app. Be careful not to use the bundle, because a lot of people try to use the bundle that you get on Save Instance. They're completely different things. Get intent gives you the intent that woke up the app, and that's the one that's going to contain the URI information that you need to open up your content. So you get the intent. The intent has an action, which is the action view, the one that we talked about that lets Android know that it can open that activity directly. So this is something that we can do for SageCheck. It's not required, but we can try to make sure that the action of the intent is action view to make sure you're handling the right intent and not some other intent with a different action that might not have the URI information that you need. And then you can use the get data string to get a string representation of the URI. This is a new, well, relatively new method. I think they added it on API 10. It used to be get data, and then get data would give you a URI, and you have to do more manipulation to get the string version of that. But starting on API 10, which I think probably most of you are already on API 10, hopefully, and then you can just use get data string. You check that the action, in fact, matches what you're expecting, and then you can use, I mean, this is basically a string, so you can use whatever technique you want to extract the content that you need. And this is just sample code, but in my case, I need everything that's after the E. So I need everything that's on the end of the URL. So basically, all I do is I search for the last index of the slash, and I get everything, which is the last segment of my URI. And then I could have a content provider basically that gives me back event data. So I give the content provider the URI. The content provider gives me another URI, but a local URI to access the event data. Or this could be a call to your website, or a call to your database, anything that you need to do to basically get the data to show it to the user. And then you can just send the user to whatever UI logic. Send the intent or the URI to whatever UI logic you have to show the content on your app. So here I have a show event that basically does all the UI manipulation and shows the event data. So this is the part where you handle that intent. This is the most important part, getting the intent here with get intent, and then getting the data with get data string. So that way you guarantee that the URI that the system match gets sent to your app, you receive it, you get the content, and then you show the user exactly what they were expecting to see on the website, but now you show it to them on the app, which is the whole point of deep linking. So how do you test it? There's two ways to test it. You can test it using ADV if you have everything set up on your machine, which you should. You can just do ADV shell am start -a. You give it an Android intent action view because that's the action that your code is expecting, and then you give it a -d, the exact URL that you want to open on your app, which you can see here is the same URL that I had on the previous slide, and then you give it your app ID. So this is basically the ID of your app, and that will open the URL on your app, and that will send you the intent with this URL, and you can test that the code that you wrote here works exactly as you want it to work. That's using ADV. You can also there's a website that Google has called, for app indexing, where you can basically paste your URL that's going to generate a QR code, and then you can use any QR reading app on your Android phone, point it to that QR code, and then since your URI schema is registered on Android, even if it's not from the browser, as soon as the QR reading app sees the URL, it's going to give you the intent chooser, and it's going to send the intent to your app. So this is how you can do it on the command line, or you can use this website to test it using a QR code if you want. So now that you have deep linking, then that's all you need. Users click on the link, it opens your app. Success, that's what you wanted. The problem is, every time the user clicks on the link, they're going to see the chooser dialog. And it's not a great experience, because they're going to have to either select what they want to open the app with, and I don't know about you, but I have a ton of browsers installed on my phone, so this chooser dialog is full of apps and full of different things. So for some users, seeing the chooser dialog is confusing. Some people choose just use once. Some people use always, and then they never see the chooser dialog, and then they get confused when things go one way or the other. So dim links are really powerful. They've been around on Android for a long time, but the idea of app indexing is taking this to the next level, and that's the idea that I want to leave you with today. Is deep links are good, but app indexing is what really takes this to the next level. So how do I implement app indexing? So first, I need to make sure I have deep links. Once I have deep linking ready, I need to create my URL formats, or at least make sure I have a URL format that I can use, and it's basically going to be the same URL that I'm using for deep linking. And then I need to connect my app, or basically register my app on app indexing. And then if I haven't, if this is a brand new website, I need to register on Webmaster Tools so that the Google crawler can go and crawl the website. But for most people that already have a website, this is something that they have already done. I included it just for consistency, but most of you probably have done this already. So this is the format that you need for app indexing. So as you can see, I'm using here, well, this is a sample URL that I grabbed from Google, but here, this is my URL from the exact same event that I showed on the previous slide, the Christmas event that I was showing on the app. This is the exact same event. So the format that you need to create for app indexing, it always starts with Android-app. This is how Google search and the Google crawler knows that this is a link that it's going to be used on app indexing. So it says it starts with Android-app ://. Then comes this is the package ID of your app. So basically the same name that your app is registered with on Google Play. So for instance, this is a sample app that's called that the package ID is com.recipe-app. But you can see that for the Eventbrite app, it's com.eventbrite.attendee. This is the package ID that we have registered on Google Play. Then it comes the schema that you're using, which is basically your protocol. For most web URLs, it's going to be HTTP or HTTPS, as we saw on our case. We have HTTP and HTTPS URLs. So you have your scheme here, and then you have your host path, which is basically your entire URL except for HTTP. So as you can see here on Eventbrite's case, I have HTTP, and then I have /www.eventbrite.com, and then the rest of the URL /e/ and the rest of my URL. This is the format that app indexing needs for the Google website for the Google crawler. When the Google crawler is crawling your website, and then it finds this schema, it registers that web page as something that is going to be shown on app indexing. So every time an Android user searches for a content that matches this page, the Google crawler knows that on the search results, it should take that user to your app. So what you need to do is, after you have your URL, then you need to go to your website and then make sure that your website puts that URL on the HTML of that page. It's something that you don't have to show the user. It's basically, I'm going to show you in a little bit. It's just a tag that has that exact same format, this format, just like we have it here. Make sure that that's on the HTML of the page, and that's the HTML that the Google crawler it's going to read. This is something that on most web frameworks you can all you have to do basically is just change the template to add the tag to the URL, to add the tag to the HTML on the template on your web framework that generates the HTML, and that's basically all you need to do. And that varies depending on which web framework you're using. And so if you handle the website, you probably know what to do. If not, then whoever designs or maintains your website knows exactly what to do. For instance, on Eventbrite, if you go to the Christmas event that I show you, and then you click on View Source, you're going to see something like this. This is the source of the web page, and then hidden inside the source, then there's this link. It's a link tag. It says alternate, and this is key. It needs to be a link tag with the alternate here, and then the link with the exact same format that we just designed. So as you can see, it's the same format that I have down here. Android data, Android dash app colon slash slash, and then my package ID dash slash HTTP slash, and then the rest of my URL. And you can see that's exactly what I have here. Android dash app colon slash slash com.eventbrite.attendee, which is my package ID, slash HTTP, my protocol, slash the rest of my URL, my host, my pattern, and then the rest of my URL. This tag right here is what the Google crawler reads and then registers as next time I show search results that go to this page, I'll take the user to the app instead, if they have it installed, of course. So this is the key that ties your website with your app. So we saw that on deep links, it's something that happens on the local level. It's something that happens on the Android level. And whenever the user taps on the URL on the browser, even if it's search results or anything else, or they're reading a QR code, the OS on the local level is going to take them to your app instead of the website. This is something that happened on the Google level. So it's something that's happening on the web. The Google crawler does the exact same thing as Android does. So the same thing that Android does with the Android manifest, it registers your app for a URL. When the Google crawler sees this tag, it registers this website as something that can be opened on your app. And that's why you need to include the package ID so that the Google crawler knows exactly the app that is used to open that URL. The package ID is something that's unique to your app, and that's something that the Google Play Store assigns to your app. And that's what you need to use basically to match those two. So this is the beauty of this. It's something that's happened. Deep links happen on the local level. The app indexing happens on the web at the Google crawler level. So once you have done that, you have to go to your Google Play console. And this is a new step that Google added. When Eventbrite started on app indexing, we were part of the launch partner. So basically, they took care of this linking on their side for us. All we had to do was do this on our websites, and they did the linking. But now they opened up the registration to everybody, and then you can go to the Google Play console where you have your app, and you can basically say, hey, I want to participate. But before you do that, you have to make sure you have all the previous steps completed. So you have to make sure deep links are working on your app, test them, see that the content shows up immediately, matches the content that's on the website. Because Google, since this program is not, it's technically in beta still, they're monitoring really closely the apps that are on app indexing. And if your app is doing something wonky, they first will reach out to you and say, hey, we want you to fix this. Your app is not opening the link immediately. And then if you don't respond, they'll just get you out of or remove you from app indexing. So you have to make sure that you have implemented all the previous steps. So you have your deep links working. People go straight into the content, and then you have this specific format on your website showing up on the HTML.
I'm not familiar as much on the website. The link canonical, is that already there?
No, the canonical is something. This is something that it's on our website, and that's not a requirement for app indexing. I'm just showing you that this is the canonical link, which is the normal link. This is the link people see, or the link people will type to get to this page. It's not mandatory for this. I'm just showing it so that you can see the actual link with the HTTP ://, which is the web link that we're all used to see, and then the format so that you can compare the two. But canonical is not something that you have to add. It's only the alternate, the link alternate tag, the one that's required for app indexing. So once you have implemented all those previous steps, you go to the Google Play console, and then on Services and API, you're going to see an option for app indexing. You go to app indexing, and then you click on Verify the website, and then Verify the website. Basically, it's going to launch the process. It's not as immediate as you would probably want it to be, but I think Google will get there really fast. So you click on Verify the website, and as a matter of a few hours, maybe days, they verify the website, and everything starts to work. It's easier if you have done the Webmaster part already, which if you already have a website out, you probably already have. So this is the last step from the Android developer perspective. We go to the Google Play console where we have our app register, and we activate app indexing. The webmaster part, it's for people that maintain your website. If your website is just launching, you have to do this. If your website is already out in the internet and is showing up on Google results, chances are this is already done. Because this is basically how you register your website to Google, so that Google starts crawling it and knows when to show it, depending on the search term that people are using. So I just included this for completeness sake, but it's from the Android developer perspective, is not something that you would usually handle. The person that handles your website can help you with this. And Google, I'll show you the links in the end. Google has a lot of good documentation that you can basically send your web person and tell them deal with this. Or if you're your web person, you probably know or have already done this.
The slide is not in the OneDrive. Maybe I'm missing.
Sure.
The slide, whatever you're showing, it is not available.
Oh, sorry. The slides are not available now. But if you check back on the AndevCom website in about an hour, they're going to be there. and also, there's going to I'm going to show you a link at the end to my Lanyard page, and they're going to be on my Lanyard page too. So all you have to do at the end of the talk is just write the Lanyard page, and then you'll be able to download the slides. Or they'll be on the AndevCom website too. So again, this is just for reference, but it's not something that you have to worry about. It's just registering your website on Webmaster Tools. Just to make sure that Google knows about your website and is crawling it to surface it on search results. So now that you have done all that, every time people search for your app, search for something that's on your website, they're going to get your app. So for instance, if someone is searching for beta breakers on Google on their Android phone, it has to be on the Android phone, they search for beta breakers on their Android phone, that's an event that we ticket. So what they're going to get is this nice search result that has our Eventbrite logo and has a button that says Open an App. When they click Open an App, it's going to go straight to the app. No chooser dialog, no confusion. So this is the goal of this. It's going to make it transparent to the user, and the user is going to re-engage with your app if they had it installed and didn't remember that they had it, or just for convenience because they're searching for the event on Google search, and then they can open it on the app without them having to do anything extra. So this is what makes this really nice. And this is the part that ties the two worlds together, the web world and the Android world, and basically blurs the lines between your website and your app, which is it's my intent with this talk. There's a new extra step, if you want, that you can take if it makes sense for your app. It's something that Google just launched at Google I/O, so a couple months ago. And it's basically an API on Google Play services that lets you surface content from within your app for the local search. So basically, if a user is browsing through, let's say, Eventbrite, and they see an event, they see the Christmas event that we've been talking about, or they see maybe beta breakers, and then they forget about it. And then maybe a friend mentions to them, or maybe they had plans for Christmas, and then the plans fell through, and then remember they saw an event on Eventbrite for Christmas, but they don't remember how to get there. So when they start typing on the phone to try to search for the Christmas event, or maybe if they're typing beta breakers because they remember the name of the event, but they don't remember how to get there. Now with this new API that's built into Google Play services, I'm going to be able to, every time that the user sees content that it's on app indexing on my app, so every time they visit an event, basically, I can register that on some kind of history. So the Google search app keeps that history, and when people start typing, it's going to put it on the autocomplete list, so they can select it, and it'll take them straight into the app and straight into the event. Or for instance, if you have an app for reviews, let's say you have a website where you review, I don't know, Android phones. So someone is searching for, someone probably read the review on your app for the Xperia Z3, for instance. So they start typing on the local app on Android, Xperia Z3, and they're going to see an entry for your app. They click on it, and it opens using all this app indexing magic that we've been talking about. So the way to implement this, it's really straightforward too. the first thing you need to do is make sure you're using Google Play services. And I'm not going to go into the whole debate of Google Play services. The good news is that Google Play services 6.5 is going to break apart some of the functionality. But for now, using the latest version of Google Play services, which is 6.1, this functionality is included. In fact, it's included starting on Google Play Services 5. So all you have to do is make sure you're using Google Play Services 5 and above to be able to take advantage of this functionality. And this is basically a snippet of my Gradle file. If you're using Gradle, if not, then you're probably including this on your dependencies if you're using Eclipse or whatever you're using. But on Gradle, it's super easy, and Gradle basically takes care of downloading all the dependencies for you. Right now, we're using 6.1.11, but anything above 5, which is the version they announced a little bit before Google I/O, anything above 5, it's going to have the App Indexing API. The Min SDK could be anything. I'm not sure if it goes all the way. I think it goes all the way to like Gingerbread or whatever is the minimum SDK for Google Play services. But this is what they have on their documentation. Set it to 17 or less, which doesn't really say a lot. But whatever is the minimum for Google Play services, that's the one you want to use. And again, if you're using Gradle, basically Gradle takes care of everything for you. So once your app is using, once you have all the app indexing part done, and you're using Google Play services, what you want to do is every time the user sees content that's indexed through app indexing on your app, you're just basically going to register that on a history on the search API. So when your app launches on onCreate, you're basically going to want to create a client to Google Play services. And this is really easy. All you have to do is just create this static or this builder method. It's going to show up if you have included Google Play services. So you just say Google API client .builder. You pass it the context, and then you add API, which is basically the app indexing API. So you say app indexing API, and then build. That way, the Google API client will build a client specifically tailored for app indexing. So you're gonna probably want to hold on to this client because this is the client that you're going to be interacting with to register each of the page views, basically. So it's similar to what you do on the web. So each time there's a page view, you're going to register that page view through this client. And then when the activity that we redirect users to when they click on a link that has app indexing, when that activity starts, you first do client connect. So that's going to connect to the Google Play Services client that was created for app indexing. And then you basically, this is information that you need to send it. So you basically need to send it a title. And this title is what's going to get auto-completed when the user is typing on the search app on their Android phone. The URI, which is the URI that Android needs to redirect the user to your app. And then the web URL, which is the URL they will see if they were going to your website. The web URL part, it's optional. You only have to pass it if you want to or if you have to, because autocomplete will work if the person is typing that URL to get to the website. So for instance, they don't remember they have your app. For instance, they don't remember they have the Eventbrite app, and they start typing the Eventbrite URL. Autocomplete is going to show that URL, and when they click on it, it's going to take them to the app. So the web part, it's completely optional if you want the web URL to be auto-completed to, but it's not mandatory. The mandatory part is the title and the app URI, which is where Android is going to send users. And then all you do is on the client that you created, you do app indexing. Sorry, it has a app indexing API view, which is what records a page view. You send it the client and the context and the 3 parameters that we just created. The last parameter, you don't need to send anything. You can send a null. And that's going to return a result. The result, you can basically add a listener, and then you can see if the page view recording succeeded or failed. It's not something that you need to do, but if you want to do it, in case you want to maybe retry or anything of that nature, you can do that using this result. But you don't need to. All you need to do is just call view that it's going to record the page view. And this is on start of the activity that matches the content that you have on the web. So this is the activity that matches whatever people would see on your website and they're now seeing on your app. When people exit the activity, you need to mark the page view or the page view action as finished. So on stop, all you have to do is, again, get the parameters. And this time, all you need is just the URI, since the record of the page view is already created. You get the URI, which needs to match the one you use for view, and then you say view end. So basically, that's going to tell the Google Play Services client that the page view is finishing, and then you disconnect from the client. And that way, that page view gets recorded, and all that information is now available for autocomplete on local search. It's really simple. It's still really new. We're still implementing it, so I'm not familiar with a lot of the problems that you might face. But I really encourage you to think about it and hopefully implement it so that more and more users start discovering the great stuff that you have on your app, and they can access it quickly on their devices. So that's all I had. It's pretty much, as I said, a 3-step process. You do deep linking, which is something that's been on Android for a long time, to take users from a URI or a URL into your app. You do app indexing to do that same matching, not only on the Android side, but on the Google side, so that search results take users directly to your app. And then finally, if it makes sense to your app, you surface internal content every time the user sees it, so that there's a history and people can get to it quickly using the search API.
So if you have 5 deep links, so with respect to Google, I just need to register my package. App name, all the 5 links need to be app indexed.
So what's the question? Oh, okay. So I think I got it. So you're asking if I have 5 different links.
Within my
5 different deep links within my app. I have to do all 5 into Google App Indexing.
Or just one time, just my package, whatever.
Okay, so it depends on your app. If all of those links would show up in search results, then yes, you maybe want to do it for all 5 different types of links. So it's whatever shows on search results, because that's what makes this magic work. It needs to show on search results for the app indexing bit to work. So deep linking, you can have deep links to a lot of things within your app, but this dual thing works is on pages that are going to show up on Google search results. So if you have 5 deep links, and the 5 deep links are something that might show up on search results because it's something that you have that you added on Webmaster tools as something that Google could crawl, then yes, it makes sense to add the 5 deep links into app indexing, and then you will have 5 different entry points. And if you want to use the Google Play Services API, then mark the 5 page views when people get there. These are some useful links if you want to get started. Most of what you need is going to be on the presentation, but there's some. These links are useful. These are a couple of YouTube videos with a lot of good overviews. So make sure you do that. And then finally, this is my email if you need to contact me for anything. And then this is my lanyard page, and this presentation is going to be posted on the page. One thing that I need to mention real quick is right now, if you try to use app indexing with our Eventbrite app, unfortunately, it's not working. We're having an issue with Google that we're trying to work out. It has to do with we added a way to take payments from within our app, so we have to take some measures to secure the app. and that part is still not supported on app indexing. So right now, if you try the Eventbrite app, unfortunately, you're not going to see the app indexing links working. Deep links work. So if you click on the result, it's going to offer you to open it on the Eventbrite app, but you're not going to see the nice open an app button because we're having some issues that we're trying to work with Google. Other than that, that's all I had, and let's open it up to questions. Yes, go ahead. It's just local on the device. That's correct. So the question is, if I'm doing the page recording with Google Play services, it's anything going to Google? No, it's only local. On the terms of service and the disclaimer, you're going to see that Google is going to be on the terms of service. They're going to include something saying yes, you agree that what you're sending is something that Google it's going to have access to. But as far as I know, it's only local because those results are only going to show local. So if someone goes to the browser on their computer and types that, they're not going to see the results on the app.
The actual question, Paul,
Okay.
given that it's local.
So the question is, given that this is happening local, why do we have to do app indexing? So basically, why do we have to do the web stuff if everything is happening local? The answer is, I don't think there's a technical limitation. I think it's a Google limitation, and it's more of a usability thing. Because ideally, people will get to that page through Google search results. So that's where they would like to see them again. So that's why they need to make that match. So I don't think there's a technical limitation. It's more of a usability thing, and that's how Google thought it out. But I'm not sure, and I don't think there needs to be a. So maybe in the future they open up this to just go to just local stuff without you having to register the web bit. Yeah, that's a bit confusing, and I'm sorry. I included it because that's what's in the documentation. Doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So what you have to do is basically go to Google Play services and then see what's the min SDK for Google Play services. I think the latest is Gingerbread. I think it's API. If I'm not mistaken, it should be API level 10. But that's what's on the documentation. So I put it just as they have it. But I made the note when I was going through it. It doesn't make a lot of sense because minimum SDK 17 or less. Minimum SDK ideally would indicate the minimum. So yeah, it's the same minimum SDK that's on Google Play Services documentation. So, and I think for now it's Gingerbread. Any other questions? Yes. I really don't know why they do that. That's something that Google does. My first instinct is, yeah, this is a page view. That's it. I'm not sure if they're indexing anything else. I'm not sure if there's something that they're doing in the future that they're not doing now. I'm not entirely sure why there's a different view and view end, but that's how the API is implemented.
Okay,
unfortunately.
I didn't get why in your meta tag you need to include the URL of the page since theoretically the crawler already knows the URL.
On which
in the HTML.
In the HTML. So here?
Yeah, why do you have to embed your URL?
Oh, the canonical?
No,
Oh, this?
Yeah, I mean, it should already know your URL, right? Why
No, because this is the URL. This is the URL that you're using for app indexing. In my case, the URL is exactly the same, but maybe on your case you want to change something that's not the same as the URL. So maybe my URL can have all this description that says the Great Dickens Christmas Fair 5 weekends 1 Friday ticket, but maybe I could have just got rid of all that and just have the ID.
Okay.
So those don't necessarily match. In our case, they do match, but in your case, you might not want to have this big URL. You might just want to have just the ID. And
definitely doesn't require those to match.
No. They don't need to match. If they match, then yeah. If they had to match, then it'll be really easy for the crawler to just construct it. But since they could be different, because they're based on your deep links, that's why you have to include it so that the Google crawler can know the exact format and can match this to the actual URL.
I think it is looking for that Android app. That is the keyword.
Yes. This is the keyword, right? It's so the Android-app : // This is the key, and that's why I included it here. This is the key. It's the Android-app : // That's what's going to tell the Google crawler this is an app indexing URL. So there's an app that opens this. And then which app? That's why you have your package ID. Your package ID is a unique identifier assigned to you by Google Play, so the crawler knows exactly which app on the Play Store, from the millions of apps on the Play Store, which specific app can open this link.
And if you don't already have it installed, will it show anything in the web result?
Currently, no. I think they're trying it out because I've seen it on some apps. I've seen it with some apps. I think IMDb sometimes shows up and Wikipedia sometimes shows up. If you don't have it, it'll say download the app. But I think they, as far as I know, they haven't rolled out anything public that we can access yet. They usually do a small beta with some partners, and then they roll it out. And that's what I mentioned in the beginning. We were part of that first beta, where a lot of this was handled by them and us together. And then after they tried it with some partners, they worked out the kinks, then they opened it up to the rest of the public. So maybe they're trying the bit where they take you to the store. Maybe they're trying it with a certain specific set of partners. Okay, thank you very much. And I'm going to stay around here if anyone wants to ask a one-on-one question.